Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Roundabout. Again, my name is Jack Russell, and alongside me, Mayor Sue Finkam. Episode 2, we've made it.
Yay! I don't know if we have any followers right now.
Yeah. So far, so good, by the way. We have, I was joking with Jack beforehand. Actually, this past week, we have had several new members that joined specifically because they watched our podcast. So
that's gotta be silly.
I know. Hey.
Well, guys.
We're doing our job, right? Not only are we supporting our business community, but my team was excited about new members. I was excited.
Great.
Hey, I can tell Mayor, we've got 4 people that have watched the podcast, so I'm just kidding. But it's been wonderful, and the response has been great. But I think the biggest part before we dive into our theme around some exciting new identity pieces in Carmel is around, that was the purpose of why you and I sat down, was let's create an opportunity for the community to learn more about what's going on in our community. And I think so far, so good.
I'm excited. Yay. I'm excited. We got so much to talk about for,
I know.
Eons.
Yeah. So there's some exciting announcements.
Yes.
We have some new things going on in our community. A new logo, but more than a logo.
Yeah, exactly.
Much more than a logo. And so with that announcement and the excitement around that, I thought maybe this is a perfect time to talk about it on our podcast.
Great.
And so step 1 in any good thing as you as a marketer is, the why, right? Why are we in the purpose around why is it important that we begin this new chapter under this new identity?
I want to clarify first, it's not just because I was in marketing, I love branding. Yeah. Both were true.
Yeah.
But I felt like as a city councilor for 12 years, we watched our identity evolve. Both the identity is who Carmel is and how we serve our community, but also how we were visually represented. I felt like, hey, we evolved, and Nancy Heck did a great job over the years and had evolved into a cityscape type of image that was super fun and inviting. But it didn't seem to hit on all cylinders as it positioned us for the future.
Yeah.
It was very much an urban setting. We have amazing, more pastoral areas and natural areas and parks, and it didn't perhaps hit on that. And so I thought there might be an opportunity also with the amount of business coming to our community and the amount of our international residents as well, to at least poll the community and find out what their thoughts were about what they value about the city of Carmel and its services, what they value about living in the community and or working in the community. And so we just, first thing out of the gate was did that community survey, which we've talked about before a lot publicly. And the key takeaways as it relates to identity was that people very much see the city of Carmel as an aspirational city. They love the schools. They love that it's a safe community. They see themselves here forever, and they want to make sure that all the amenities, which includes, as we talked last time, fantastic healthcare, incredible infrastructure, and people that really care about the community, our safe environment, that continued to exist. So we knew that, okay, we're starting from a great base, right? And so, but then it was really, what do you want from your community moving forward? And how are we doing representing that as it occurs visually? Yeah. So we took the next step and hired North Star, a branding firm out of Tennessee and Florida that specializes in municipal and government brands. Yeah. And they did a next layer of research. And I think you participated in some of that, did you? Which one did you participate in? Was it like just a Q&A around a table, or was it a written exercise, or was it something in the community?
I think I did both.
Okay.
I think I did a Q&A and then also a written piece of it. Yeah.
Because they did several different types of things to get after the root of what people are thinking and feeling and believe about Carmel. And, we did a lot of activations in the community about what color would you like to see? What color do you think of when you think of Carmel? What car do you think of when you think of Carmel? All sorts of fun things like that. I love that. Not many said pickup truck, by the way, for the record. There were a few. And so when they took all that stuff and put it in a hopper, some of the things we learned were not as well known as we thought. And I think that was a surprise to many because they're like, everybody knows Carmel.
Right.
Well, come to find out that doesn't. So one of the things that doesn't exist, one of the things we learned, we tried to do a survey with our peer cities that we kind of benchmark, Naperville, Illinois, Franklin, Tennessee, and Dublin, Ohio. Those are peer cities in other states, right? And close by, so they're within a car drive in. And there were not enough people who were familiar with Carmel to complete that survey,
Wow.
which really surprised a lot of people. So we took the information that we did get from that, but it wasn't statistically significant as a standalone. We had to broaden it a little bit.
Yeah.
So not as many people were familiar with Carmel as we thought. No one could really use words to Carmel. They had feelings, highly positive feelings about the built environment, how it looked, the experiences they had. But when asked to summarize, it really couldn't get down to nuggets.
Yeah.
And so that told us we had an empty vessel, and we had an opportunity to fill it. And the good news was, because the feelings were positive, we didn't have to overcome negativity.
Right.
So we didn't have to empty the vessel out, right? It really was empty. We can just fill it with what we believe we heard and where we need to head. And then the next thing we did is we worked on, strategic plan.
Yeah.
So how do we want to serve the community?
Right. Well, and one of the things that I loved about it was also the tagline, or at least they built for.
Yep.
And I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, because it's so unique in the fact that we can be built for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so if you want to talk a little bit about kind of what, why that's important and how we can utilize that, because I love that. I love
that you love that.
I do. I love that it's aspirational.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's the power of it.
We want the emotional hook. What Jack's talking about came out of what we call our Carmel DNA brand statement. And this is really where North Star was incredibly helpful. If no one's ever done a DNA statement or branding platform before, they usually have several elements. And the first one is, who's your target audience? Who are you trying to reach? You can say that geographically, you can say that more demographically. But we did it a little bit more, again, getting after aspirational nature. We kind of define it as bar raisers and big dreamers, which is a more eloquent way of, I said, we've got game changers and world leaders in our community. And I like how they said it, bar raisers and big dreamers. These are people who are ambitious and want to do more. They want more for their kids. They want more for their business. They want an elevated lifestyle. Yeah. That's why they choose Carmel for whatever reason. So that's the target audience. The frame of reference, which again, you're not going to see these in words, but Carmel, and we put just north of Indianapolis. So to kind of geographically set what Carmel we're talking about, is a visionary city with the accolades to prove it. So all of those best places to live, best places to retire, best schools, all those are receipts, right? As you like to say now. Yeah. So that's our target frame of reference. And then what's the point of difference? And this was really important to us, because everyone says my city's a great place to live, work, stay, or live, work, play, stay, spend. Put the the verb there. But everybody says that. And so it's really not a differentiator if everyone says the same thing. So we really wanted to point, how are we different from many of our peers? And I like where they landed, whose version of urban living redesigns expectations at every stage. And we do that. That is our built environment.
Yes, 100%.
It's also the way people interact in our community. I talked to a lady who moved her family from Carmel from California. She says, people look you in the eye and say hi. It really happens. And the last thing is the benefit. What do you get when you move to Carmel? You work in Carmel. You spend your money in Carmel, where everyone is invited to flourish with harmony, activity, and opportunity. So put together, this should read as a statement. For bar raisers and big dreamers, Carmel, just north of Indianapolis, is a visionary city with the accolades to prove it, whose version of urban living redesigns expectations at every stage, where everyone is invited to flourish with harmony, activity, and opportunity. Now, you take all that, that's wordy.
Yeah.
But this is how we get to understand how to put the visuals together, what photography to do, how do we talk about our community, what's our boilerplate in our press release say. Yeah. But what's the platform, the essence of the brand? Ultimately, it's built for big dreams.
Yeah.
That's what, and when I first saw it, I'm like, it kind of gave me chills a little bit, because I'm like, nailed it.
Yep.
And we feel we can play a little bit, which I think you were alluding to in the built for, after we get the big dream set.
Yeah.
Built for big opportunity.
Yeah.
Built for championships, whatever it might be. Yeah. But we have to get the brand established first before we take off in a little bit of a direction. For those of you who've ever seen Pure Michigan, beautifully well done, multi-year brand for the tourism for the state of Michigan, now has one called, I think it's Pure Opportunity around workforce and or economic development, which I love that. And I think they've done an amazing job evolving that. And so we hope to do that as well in probably short order in a year or so.
Well, I think it goes back to, the mission, the vision of what you were talking about. Is not only is it something that Carmel can be proud of, but it's also a good blueprint around sharing the story outside of Central India, outside of
Absolutely.
our four walls, because our eyes, people are, we assume sometimes that everybody knows who we are and what we are. And this positions us a little bit better when we look at um, attracting talent, attracting business,
Yep.
attracting those things. And so, you know, kudos to you and your team of identifying, hey, we know that our people are very passionate about Carmel.
Yep.
Now it's our job to share that story with the rest of the
Yeah.
world.
And so we're giving them the words and the platform to do that in a different way.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about that. The visual identity, of course, will be met with negativity. I've never done a rebrand that has been
It's an art.
initially met with, I don't like that color. I don't like this. I don't like that. That's fine. You can put your personal lens on it. But that visual identity is built on this brand platform very specifically. And the research we gleaned from all those conversations we had last year.
Yeah.
And we put a little bit of a hold on this release. There was so much noise coming from the state legislature this year with the big changes they were discussing. I didn't want it to get lost in all that.
Yeah.
And I want to have full focus on it as the leader of this community. And so that's why we're launching now and also doing it right before 4th of July. So we can
it's perfect.
Share it with all the visitors that are coming to our community for that amazing Carmel Fest that Thank You Rotary is put on by the Carmel Rotary.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this identity we've created. And so what does that look like as you and your team roll this out? What can the community expect and kind of how do you envision that?
Well,
that story.
We're recording this the day before we launch it.
Yes.
So by the time they listen to this, it'll be out there, and that's great. This is just another opportunity to explain what we're doing. So initially, we're talking, and I want to be clear, this is part of our strategy.
Yeah.
It's not just a sticker, a new logo on stuff.
Yes.
We could have done that in 10 seconds and just decided to use AI for a logo, slapped it out there, and moved along. This is truly built on our strategy. So it's part of a bigger effort to align how the city of Carmel, its partners, its employees, which we call team members, and our community work together to achieve more.
Mm-hmm.
And to get those bar raisers and big dreamers what they need. And so we're working on our strategy. We have been about culture change and operational excellence.
Mm-hmm.
We have rolled out in January at all team meetings a new vision. And not only the best place to live, but the best run city in America. And then our vision, that's our vision, our mission, and then also values. And so I feel like the community is going to continue to hear those, especially the values, over and over again. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure that they continue to resonate with our staff. Because they have to live them every day. It's going to be part of their performance expectations and how we serve. There'll be times that, we have learning opportunities where we learn maybe something we have been doing don't meet our new values. And that's something as awkward as it sounds, I look forward to.
Yeah.
Because that's a learning, growing opportunity. So we're really leaning on the strategy, building out our strategic plan with action items. And then, of course, with the visual identity, there'll be all the changes to website, social media, printed materials, and all the related stuff roll out over time. You can do brand changes in a variety of ways. You can do what we call a light bulb switch, right? Where you just blink and everything just changed over. We're not that. We are government. And so we're not that. And also we're trying to be thoughtful with the dollars we spend. So we really have a very, very lean and mean rollout. And over time, as we have ad opportunities or something in the newspaper, or we have promotion materials which we're scaling back on to save dollars, we'll change those. But we're not going to throw stock away just because it has an old logo. We'll go through some of that first, and then roll out new stuff as we have the opportunity.
We just did this last year, and ours is at a much smaller scale than yours, and it was amazing, the process. Putting stakeholders around the table and what do they identify. Even when we went through ours, the number one thing is we had small groups, and one of the questions I asked that you just assume sometimes is like, well, what do you guys think of the Z? Was one of my questions, and actually, out of the 10 people on our that sat with there, 8 of them didn't realize it was a Z.
That's interesting.
And I was like, wow, so I'm sure it's like through that process that you went through, there's things where, because you're ingrained in it, so it's always great to have external stakeholders or people that you want to ask those questions, because for us, it was, and we worked with Jack and his team. It was like very fascinating when people were like, I didn't even realize that was a Z. I thought it was 2 arrows pointing to Carmel and Fishers. And you're like, no way. Like it's totally a Z. I don't know why you don't see the Z. And so that's when we worked with Jack to realize like, hey, you know, to your point, it's not just a logo. It is, step one is how do you create the piece of art and how do you do that? Step two, to your point, and I think that'll, that's something I think you're very good at is like, this is our identity, which establishes our culture, which establishes who we are. And it gives us that North Star of this is our why. And, and it just depends. It's going to hit different people at different layers.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that because at a small scale, we did that. And Jack can attest, it was quite a process, even just for a chamber of commerce to be so many different opinions, so many different ideas. But like I just said, like it's a piece of art and people get to interpret the art how they want.
Absolutely they do. And we will keep pouring in information. There's elements of the logo that we felt were important. There's 4 different sections of color, and that was important for us to identify and kind of honor the 4 different families that literally put stakes in the ground and started Carmel, Bethlehem at the time. Yeah. Since our original name was Bethlehem, there's a half of a star element at the bottom, and it was also Quaker. You look in our current flag, it's got a star element. Noblesville has the star element, right, in its logo and also in the brick in its street. And so, whereas we didn't want to have necessarily a religious symbol, so to speak, it is still honor our heritage. Yeah. And so it's got a stylized star, 8-point star, half of a stylized 8-point star in it. And there's a previous logo in the Carmel Clay Historical Museum side advertisement. Right now, if you haven't been to that museum, please go. It's super cool. Your kids will love it. You'll love it. And you can rent it for like family gatherings and other things. It's really cool. And that you're welcome. That was free. Yeah. But no, if you go there, they've got an old logo on the wall that has a US 31 kind of as a middle pillar. And so we made sure that was part of it in our discussions. And it's got a bit of a window element, which is again, back to the amazing oculus and the Palladium, all the windows you see in the architecture around the city of Carmel. And so, we try to pull in several elements that have meaning into it. It's not just, let's see if we can have this design that we can pass intellectual property
right
the attorney with. So I feel like whereas we don't want to lean on the visual identity, it's really about strategy and who we're trying to attract and where we're trying to head. It's part of it. It's part of telling the story.
And I think what this also brings, I mean, Carmel has a lot of things that are great, and a lot of those things also have brands attached to them.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of them that even from a business community standpoint, well, what's this one and that one and this one? And I think there were, I don't know how many different version or different types there were around the community. And I think what this is doing is saying, okay, hey, look, how do we, I mean, kudos to you guys, like sharing the past, understanding that it existed and it's where we got us. We're going to live in the present, but be aspirational in the future. And I love it. And then even all the way down, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, but even down to like the font and the uniqueness of the font, I thought that was a really cool, unique piece. If that's okay to share.
Absolutely. And I'm proud of our designer for really working hard on this one to add value to this process as well. And Bethany has done a great job, but it's got corbels on it. So I don't know if in this room it has, but kind of around the doorway almost, but corbel is what kind of holds a ledge piece up to the side of a building. It's often what gargoyles and other things are also designed onto, but it's a structural piece, which shows strength, but also can be very artistic. And we thought just that little touch alone is super cool. It gives us uniqueness to that font. There's actually a font called Corbel too, which we're not using because we don't like how the numbers are stylized. This is getting into nerdy marketing stuff, but but we do like those elements that it adds an air of sophistication and uniqueness. And again, those 2 words describe Carmel as well.
Yeah.
So you try to be extremely intentional. And we've used the word curate a lot when we talked about our identity. It's in our mission statement. And that curate, that has intentionality as well. All the decisions that Henry Mestetsky with our Carmel Redevelopment Commission, Mike Hollabaugh and his team at the Department of Community Services, and the rest of our entire community as city staff do every day to make sure that our community is beautiful. We felt the same intention had to go into designing our logo and our font and the ads and all of that. So we're excited about it. We're also taking an opportunity to kind of clean up some of our language. So example, and this is everybody's nightmare because things take off on you.
Yeah.
It's Department of Community Services and then Streets Department. And so that's just inconsistent. Streets has their own logo that is a road, but it looks like a snake if you're not really sure what that is. And then it just there's so many examples by department by department. So we're trying to clean that up a little bit. I think our biggest challenge with our visual identity is police and fire. They have very traditional logos that mean something, for the brotherhood and the sisterhood of police and fire that worked for other communities and Carmel in public safety. And so we're right now doing a co-brand. I think it'll work over time, where their traditional logo is the lead logo, but like on the sleeve, it has our logo in all white or all black or all dark blue. And same thing, we got Carmel Utilities, which is a separate entity from the city of Carmel. So we're co-branding that. We've got the golf course, which has a separate brand. So rather than say Carmel Golf Course, that's it's Brookshire, right? It's got a different name. So we're choosing to co-brand there. And then we have not yet gone down the path of working with parks, but that's our anticipated plan there as well, is to co-brand. So I think, we've got a lot of more work to do on what we call the brand architecture, but it's coming along nicely. I'm really proud of the work that everybody's done.
Yeah. During this process, was there, obviously, it is a process. Was there ever any time in the process that you had that moment where you're like, we got it, like this? Because obviously probably different renderings, different concepts. Like, what was that moment like when you're like, okay, I think I got it? Because I feel like poor Jack, like, or not me, I'm not talking third person.
Too, right?
Jack, who does like there were times where like it's just not there, because you can feel it in your gut, and the people around you can feel it. It's like, because you know your brand, and your community better than like that's your passion, and that's what we do. And so we felt like that the same way. But then when you see it, I mean, you're like, okay, this is that. We got it. Like, this is it. Now it's our time to now go into the layers of the story. But like, did you when was that moment when you were, obviously probably different brands and stuff, but I remember having that moment with just, again, very small scale with OneZone, but it is a powerful thing when you feel like, okay, we've made that, like, now let's tell the story.
I think when we saw the DNA statement pulled together, I was like, nailed it.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a lot of confidence moving forward. To me, that's your foundation.
Yep.
And if you don't feel good about your foundation, everything above it's going to be shaky. And so when we had that nailed, I felt really, really good. Yeah. Visual identity is hard because everyone has a personal opinion on what they like and don't like. Yeah. And so we tried to just keep in mind, does this honor the DNA statement? Does this honor the DNA statement over and over again? We actually had an initial different logo that North Star presented, and it was just too close. Our patent attorney felt it was too close to another government logo out there. I probably could have argued it, but that felt like if we had to argue that close, then it probably wasn't the unique aspect that we wanted. Right. So that was a little bit of a setback, and that was about the time the state legislature was heating up. And so I thought, okay, I don't have enough brain power to handle the tactical, the strategic, the creative, and some of these literal things we're working. Read a 300-page document about tax, and then try to come up with the creative logo. My brain was struggling, so I felt like we come to the logo that we had, and I needed to wrap my brain around it. So I put it away for 2 weeks, and I had someone print. I wanted to take it on the road with me to look at and kind of think about it on the quiet of a plane, right? I don't know if you work on a plane, but that's my best time. Yeah. And I walked back in my office and was sitting there. I'm like, oh man, that looks good. Yeah. And so I think I had to be away from it, get my head out of it. And I wanted the emotional hook. Yeah. I want people to have emotional connection to it over time. And so when I saw when I knew the DNA statement was nailed, the original mark we thought we used was in an ad that I really, really liked. And so when we had that, the new image laid over into the ad, and that's what I saw actually was on the desk. We're like, we're there. And so, awesome. And I think then confirming it as I ran through the city council and seeing their reaction was very positive. So, they're key partners to us as our department directors. And so going through those and kind of testing with people like you and a few others that are important in the community that understand what we're trying to accomplish, we received like very little, if any, pushback.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So I felt like that just kept bringing the anxiety down.
Yeah. Well, as a leader, you want to have that moment.
Yeah.
To go, okay, this is great. And then knowing you, it's the collaborative moment to say, I know I'm attached to this, but
Yeah.
as a team, are we all behind this? You know, because that was the biggest thing. Is like, you know, internally, do we believe this is it?
Yeah.
And then when you go share that to the world, then you have everybody as a team, because I call my team as well. Is like, okay, we got this. We are excited to share this with the community.
Yeah.
And so I just remember those little moments where, and I think a good lesson as well as a leader is, you know, if this is going to have a future effect, an effect like that, for you to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to put this away. And, you know, because session wasn't busy at all. Right. So
nothing going on.
But like to be as a leader, to put your mindset and say, hey, you know what? I still value this. This is important, but I have to be in that mindset. And that's sometimes hard as a leader to give yourself that time. Right. And so kudos to you because that is really, really important to have that personal time to say, is this still what I think I thought of it 2 weeks ago? Is it better or worse? And so that's powerful. I mean,
I learned through my experience with marketing as well is don't get attached to these logos.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, because I've had experience where like, oh, this is an incredible logo. It nails the brand essence of this company's brand, whatever, and present it to the owner like, eh. Yeah. And so, you know, you have to work people through a process, and sometimes it involves change with the visual identity or also how you present it, you know, through words.
Yep.
And so I learned a long time ago not to get too connected to that, and that iterative process is important. So we beat it up pretty hard on a lot of things, and I think also what was kind of cool is when you can take your brand and you always have this, you always desire a design element. Yours is the Z, right? Mm-hmm. You always want a design element that kind of you can have a little fun with, and maybe this is me as a marketer. I want a little fun with it. I want to be able to take it and use it in different ways that surprise and delight people.
Yeah.
And North Star presented some really fun brand activation ideas. You know, like a kite with a logo on it, let your dreams fly. You know, just like some of those kind of ideas. And like that's where you get the emotional attachment. Yeah. And they also did a police car design that we can't do because we have to wrap the entire vehicles, and it'd be like $6,000 a vehicle. And I just would love to do this, but we can't afford it. Yeah. And as one of the city councilors said, "Oh man, that's badass." So like when you have that kind of reaction, you're like, okay, we're getting somewhere with that. And nowhere was it was a one color logo and a light gray stylized on the vehicle. And like, yeah, this is workable.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, you know, episode 2.
Yes,
this is it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to make sure? Like, I one of the things I wanted to make sure that the viewers that are listening is to the very first thing you said is, look, this isn't a 2-week logo, or you know. Yeah. We didn't build in Canva. Like, no offense to Canva, we use Canva all the time. But like,
or Chat GPT.
Yeah, like chat. These are some elements of Carmel. Could you please put together? Like,
now I will tell you.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but to interrupt. And I wish I had the image for you. Our CFO, for fun, did a logo in Chat GPT or Claude. I think it was Chat GPT.
Yeah.
It has Snoop Dogg. It's gold with black. It's got Snoop Dogg in it and a greyhound. And I can't remember the saying on it. It's fantastic. So I'll have to share it with you because I'm like, what? What was your prompt?
So that one it was like third on the list. Okay. Yeah, and your team meeting. Well, guys, I worked really hard on this chat team.
He brought it up in our last team meeting for execs, and people are like,
"That's so funny." That's
Snoop Dogg is everywhere. So.
Yes, that is true. You know, my kids watches the TV show, the kids show. No, that's so funny. But I think that's but that's why I want to make sure that our viewers listen to is like, look, this isn't this is a process because we know that this will be a part of our community.
Absolutely.
For a long time. And we want people to be proud of it. So
we do want people to be proud of it. And
final thoughts.
I think that what I would like people to understand is like we're very intentional on it because it matters.
Yeah.
And it matters to them. And it's just another opportunity as I see it for community unity. And that's what I said way back is I really wanted to work on that community engagement piece. Mm-hmm. And no, we weren't going to put it to a vote. That's not how we roll because, you know, we just used all the data we could, which involved hundreds and hundreds of community members in the interviews piece. hundreds of people at activations, and of course the 7,200 people that did our community survey, which was the absolute essence of everything we built off of. So it was built with them in mind. It was built for their future, their investment, and it's just the next evolution in who we are and what we stand for.
I love it. Well, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it's exciting that it'll be out.
Yes, yay.
Before this podcast.
Now I can move on to the 99 other things to do today.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, now it's time, I'm a big West Wing fan, and as Jeb Bartlett says, what's next?
Exactly right.
So, but thank you. This is a wonderful episode.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening, and have a great day.